Hey, it's Dane, and I'm finally getting back into my sketchbook after taking a break for a week. I just got done with Inktober, and that took a lot out of me with drawing every day, so I took a little bit of time off. Today I'm gonna go ahead and do a draw with me video. I never made one of those type of videos before, but there's a first time for everything. Like normal, I really do prefer to use my sketchbook over drawing digitally like on my iPad. I spend way too much time at a computer and looking at my phone. It's great to actually touch, paper. It's a lot like touching grass, if I'm being quite honest with you. Today I'm going to be drawing this reference photo of Dita Von Teese. Miss Von Teese is a model and burlesque dancer that revitalized burlesque, and she's known for her vintage glamour. So she's a great person to reference and draw. The reason I picked this image is for the posing and the high contrast that I'm trying to study and incorporate into my art. Every drawing I do, I want to look at it as practice to get a better understanding of the image. And the notable takeaways of the images are the pose. It's dynamic, and I really like how her arms forms a triangle and points to her downturned head, and the expression and the dress, how playful she is with the skirt and the folds and just the shiny material. There's just a lot I can learn from this image alone. I do this every single time that I draw or copy an image for reference. Professional models are always great to study. They know how to pose their body to be dynamic and expressive, and that's something you really want to capture. As an artist, you want to try and get a great understanding of all of that, and once you do, you can just push it even further with the form and the pose to just be more dynamic, which is my goal, or well, eventually where I want to go. If you want to get into making comics like I do, it's something you need to practice to get really good at, but hey, that's what sketchbooks are for. Today, I'm going to be drawing in my square Uhu sketchbook. I like this a decent amount. The square sketchbook fits nicely in my backpack, and it's just pretty convenient. I don't like having big sketchbooks because I rather just draw smaller when I'm out and about, and if I want to draw big, then I usually just bust out an 11 by 17 or something like that instead. But the pencil that I'm using is a Write in the Rain red mechanical pencil. The lead is a bit thicker than a normal mechanical pencil. It's about 1.3 millimeters. I like how soft the lead is, and I have been using this non-stop since I got it a few months ago. I highly recommend it. So when I'm sketching a drawing, I really like just getting down the shapes and ensuring that I take up, as much of the page as I can. This is definitely the hardest part about drawing traditionally, in my opinion, getting the scale just right, especially when the photo that I'm using is not in a square orientation compared to, my sketchbook. But hey, it's fine. This is meant for practice. As soon as I'm done with the form, this is when I start to try and flesh out more detail. I start laying down some more of my shadows and where I think the heavier lines are going to be as well. Looking back on this sketch, because I'm reviewing it now, I think I didn't capture the folds of the dress well enough, but hey, gotta chalk it up to practice. It's just drawn way too straight, and I should have made it more curved, towards the side, especially since she's pulling down her dress. This is why looking back at your art and then comparing it later to the reference photo is good for studying. I finished the drawing a few days ago after writing my script, so I have fresh eyes on it, and that's always good to do. I don't think enough people actually mention that part when they're talking about studying reference photos. Just something to keep in mind. I really do enjoy inking drawings, and to be honest, I used to think I was a lot stronger back in the day, but nope, that's not really the case. It's definitely a skill I still really need to improve on, which is fine, because I enjoy it. Inking is kind of like tracing, but what you're really trying to do is just make finalized lines. A lot of people recommend that you do the inks after you use alcohol markers, but I don't like that process. The reason for that is because your inks usually bleed when alcohol markers are used on top of it. The only ink pens that don't bleed for me are Microns, which, nothing against Microns, they're fine. I love using these for very fine detail, especially with eyes because of how small the tip can be. For inking this, I usually stick to a 01 for most of my lines and a 005 for small details inside of the drawing. and then I use like a 0.8 for like the outline. I also have like a brush tip one for like filling in black, which I do for like Dita's hair. However, actually I started getting into practice of like waiting to fill black when I actually do the actual coloring, because I find like large areas of black still bleed with alcohol markers. It's unfortunate, but hey, what are you gonna do? So when it comes to the actual alcohol markers part, I tend to stick with like 3 colors for each part, like the skin for example. I like to start with the darkest areas first, block it out, and then find my shapes. And then I go with like my midtones and then start blending that out. This was a great photo to study because both the shadows and highlights have very strong shapes. You can clearly see the shapes since it has like great contrast. After I do my midtones, I then do my lightest part and then I blend that out with the colorless blender. And then like I'll repeat the process for each part of the drawing. I actually wish I would have gone darker with my colors and pushed this to be more dramatic, but like I said, hindsight is 2020. I then move on to the background, which in this photo is just a gradient, nothing too crazy. I'll attempt to do something like this with the chisel part of my markers. This is one of the things that digital could do super easily, but I gotta work with what I got, you know? Lastly, I use my thin white Posca marker to do some highlight. I like dotting my eyes and lips just to make them pop just a bit more. In the reference photo, it doesn't have any in those areas, but I think it helps sell the drawing more. I do also use my marker to hint at like texture of the dress. It looks like the dress has like a few sequins in it or something like that. And with that, the drawing is done. How do you think I did? I know there's some stuff I could have done like a little bit better on, but this is, you know, what practice is for. Also, let me know if you'd like to see me do like more content like this. But with that, guys, I'll see you guys next time.